Janbask Training. Learn and grow.
So today we are going to talk about an interesting topic in the DevOps.
That
So
is,
what will be the agenda? So before moving to today's session, so any doubts from yesterday's session? Okay, fine. So basically, I will tell you from the ages. So what was happening now? For example, I have a team. Okay, let us take. I have team with some 10 members are developers. 10 members are developers, and they are assume that they are developing some code. Like a client came to me and client said, I want an application to be developed. So let us take it's a e-com application or any application, not only e-com, social networking, maybe Facebook application, Amazon application, Walmart application, anything. Okay, now they have given us a contract to develop. Now we started developing. Okay, once we started developing, so let us take this is the without Git scenario. Okay, without version control system scenario. Before version control system, how the versioning has been done. Okay, before version control system and after version control system. What will be the scenarios? Okay, now here the name itself defines version control system. So what does it mean? It means there is some tool here, some application like this, which will control the version, okay, of some specific thing. I'm talking on a very layman, okay, I'm not on a technical way, but specific thing, controlling the version. That can be a file, okay, that can be any extension file. So which can be editable. Okay, now version control system, how does this concept comes from and where does it come? So earlier when there was nothing like these tools, then what they used to do is 10 developers used to work on their individual machines. Okay, individual machines like this. Now they used to work on a code which relates to this e-commerce, like develop on the one code, and they used to this is day one of the development. They used to put the code what they have developed for the whole day on one blob containers or glob containers, like one folder, adding all the files together and putting in a folder, and the folder will be like a timestamp. Like it can be a date and time. Day one. Now the day two, what they used to do is they used to develop the same way, and at the end of the day, once they have coded something or developed something, this one, they used to put them as another folder into the another folder with the same folder timestamp. Same like date, time, because they want to first integrate the code. They want to combine the code what individual developers has developed. So that's the reason. If, for example, if they start combining the code at the end of the development cycle, what happened is what may happen is there might be incompatibility in the code, which will result in a lot of again rework. So that's the reason what they used to do. At the end of the day, they used to put it in a one folder. Means this will this they named as version 1, and they are named as version 2, and again the similar way the day 3. So like this, when they are sure that okay, my code for the day is done or for the week is done, then they used to put it into another folder, again timestamp folder. Why timestamp? Because it is easy to recognize that okay, on that day, the time we have pushed this thing. Because timestamp, date and time means, for example, in the same day, if they create some multiple versions also, they used to place it like version 3 and version 4. And in case there is some error in this version 3 version 4, again they used to take the files from this folder or code from this folder, and they used to start working. Okay, now like this they used to maintain. Now this is a very hectic task, like we need to place it in one folder, and sometimes we may forget like which folder is meant for which sort of feature. Okay, so there were a lot of challenges to maintain these things. So now they have come up with the idea, why don't I develop a tool which maintains these versions automatically. Okay, why don't I develop a tool which maintains this version automatically? Because I cannot maintain like this, because every day I create a folder, I used to put a code for the first day, second day, third day, I used to put some multiple versions. And the one thing is, again, I used to be very careful while putting this, is because if I put something wrong code here, again I need to go back to this particular folder, I need to bring the code, I mean I need to again copy the code to my local machine, and then again I need to do some enhancements for my previous version of code, and I need to push it again. So there are a lot of hectic work. And of course, if they have two versions, and maybe the next step, if there was some error, then I need to decide which version is the one I can pick up. So like this, there are a lot of very tough tasks they used to do, they used to face when they were approaching this process. Okay, and they thought of, why don't we develop a tool which will maintain this version automatically. So that is the main background, while history for this version control system. Okay, now what are the features being needed for this tool they thought of? So they thought of this, and they put like nothing, no extra features needed. The tool should should be capable of maintaining one piece of code, maybe ABC. Okay, one piece of code ABC, and multiple developers from everywhere. I mean, not only anywhere. There can be 10 developers, there can be 20 developers, there can be 30, 40, whatever. So they used to take the code for multiple places, means for these missions, and whenever they are good, they can add the piece of code, like this guy is Z, Y, X, W. Okay, now these developers are the X, Y, Z or W, X, Y, Z. Okay, now this guy has developed some piece of code, and he pushed the piece of code here, W. The other guy has pushed X. and this guy has pushed Y, this guy has pushed Z. Okay, now what happens? This tool will automatically take care of these things, these versionings. Like it will add X, Y, Z, W like this. Now I don't need to maintain any folder. I don't need to maintain any timestamp. Everything the tool will take care of, and it will append the code. And at any point of time I need to revert back the code, I will take only particular piece of code like this. Maybe if I need XYZ, I will take a XYZ piece of code. Or if I need only A, I can take ABC, I can take ABC code. Like this, I can do any sort of any sort of experiments or any sort of probabilities of taking a code from the particular piece, I mean particular entire whole piece. Okay, now it makes more easier for us because it knows which version is being, it creates automatically the versions also, it creates automatically. Here we have to create like this timestamp plus date plus timestamp is equal to version, one version, but here it creates the version with some random ID generated. Okay, so it makes more easier for us to control the version and define the versions. Okay, now hope this gives you an idea, or on a very simple note, if I want to explain you this one, so let us take an example of bank. Okay, and your account. So what you guys do generally is you maintain an account with some opening balance, right? Or anything, whatever. If it is a opening balance, fine, or it's a zero balance, whatever. And now thereafter you will keep on adding your amount. Now what your bank will do, your bank will take care of all the things like what was your earlier balance, what was your new balance. Okay, and you can take out the amount as well. Now the similar way, now for example, if you had earlier you had some 100 rupees, now you have 101, 102, or 200 rupees, 300 rupees, 400, 500, 600 rupees. Okay, now the same thing. Now if you see in the version wise, now your account the balance is the version. Like earlier I had some 100 rupees, I'm having some 200 rupees, I'm having 300, 400, 500, 600. The same thing, the version concept also. Earlier I had some ABC code, now I have ABCX, now thereafter I had ABCXY, ABCXYZ, ABCW. Like this, it maintains incremental versions of the code. Okay, so this is the actual reason behind the getting this tool. Okay, now in 2005, I mean early 2000s, one of the companies they developed Git, and they have given this Git as a very open source, and the tool earlier to Git was SVN. Okay, SVN was the tool earlier used, and now the Git is being used. So there are few differences between SVN and Git. We'll discuss on later part of this session. Okay, now why we use Git is basically why we use this tool is basically just speed, simple design, and it can distribute. So what is distributed, I will explain you, and it can handle some thousands of connections, parallel connections at a time, and the speed it provides for large files. Okay, now the same thing, version control system is a software helps software developers to work together and maintain the complete history of the work, as I explained you here. So this guy has worked on Z, maybe for the next time he will work on D, and for the next time he will work on E, next time he will work on F, G. Now once they push, again it will come here and it will append here. Okay, like this. Now it maintains each and every versions and each and every commits. Okay. Now again, if you see the functions, same. The work, if I take here, they can parallelly work. Multiple developers can parallelly work on, and does not allow overwriting each other's changes. Yeah, in some scenarios they don't allow overriding of each other's changes, and unless they give permissions for you to download it and make changes. Okay, now next is so yes, earlier I have described you right here. There is a fully distributed. So here comes a topic called what is central version control system and distributed version control system. Okay, now the same thing. If we take a local version control system tool, okay, now the same thing. What is a local version control system? The code I'm maintaining, the tool I'm maintaining on my local machine, and I'm doing the developments. Okay, now it is nowhere centrally published or nowhere in the remote server missions. Like I have my mission, okay, and it is not exposed to the public. Okay, so like this, when we maintain in our local servers, our local missions, if you see here the clear definition. So I will maintain one mission on my local as a reference mission, and from the developer's mission I will push the code. Okay, now what happens? Whenever he pushes, it will keep on appending each part of code. Like the same thing, version 1, version 2, version 3. Here in case we define on revision 1, revision 2, revision 3. Okay. Now the important part is, now if you come here, so there will be a central control system, these all things, central version control system. Before moving, let's see about Git and SVN. Okay. Now, as I already mentioned, SVN is an older version of version control system or source code manager tool. This can also be named as source code manager. SCM, source code manager tool. Okay, this can also be named as source code manager or version control system. Source code manager in the it is named as a business term, and version control system as a technical term. Okay, because source code manager, this is the source code, right? Whatever I'm developing, this one is a source code, and this tool is managing the code, which is a source, which is a development code or which is a raw code. So that's why we name it as a source code manager. Under this source code manager, we have a lot of tools like Git, SVN, TFS, Mercurial. So a lot of, Mercurial, no, yes, SVN, Git, TFS, Mercurial also obvious. Mercurial is a client, okay. So there are a lot of other things. We have the tools, set of tools, like how we have the same thing. If you go to some our social networking market, so we have multiple tools, like there is Instagram, there is Facebook, there is Twitter. So the purpose is same. The tools are different, but the purpose is same. So here also Git, SVN, their tools are different, the purpose is same, and few might have extra features. Okay, like SVN is a simple version control system, whereas Git is a distributed version control system. Okay, those things, few of the things we differ, and Git is a little speed, and SVN is a little slow as compared to Git. SVN and from the SVN level, we have very limited features, whereas Git provides lot of other features that we will discuss on. Okay, now talking about the version control system differences, CVCS and DVCS. Central version control system and distributed version control system. Here the version control system is nothing but a Git tools. Okay, these tools. Are you guys getting me? If you have any doubts, just please raise your hands so that we can discuss. Okay, at any point of time, if you get any doubts, just raise it. Be interactive. Okay, now what is central control system, version control system, and distributed version control system? So central control system is a plain control system like this, SVN, a simple control system, version control system, where, let me draw you a new page. Where I have a okay, fine, whatever. I have a tool which is having some code ABC. Now my developers, this is a central version control system. Now my developers from multiple parts, multiple missions, they are accessing this server, and they are, for the first time, they are bringing the code here. Code here, ABC. Here they are bringing ABC again, and these guys also bringing ABC. This guy is bringing ABC for the first time, and now they bought to their local missions. Now they start developing, means they start adding the features. Like this guy will add 1, 2, 3, and this guy will add 4, 5, 6, and this guy will add 7, 8, 9, and this guy will add 0, maybe 2, 3 or something. Okay, or 0 DE. Okay, now what I have done, maybe this is me, and this is Abhi, and this is Silvam, and this is Raman. Okay, now what we are doing is we are parallelly working on the same code, and we are adding the features. Now what happens, I am pushing this feature 1, 2, means now it becomes the next version of A, B, C 1, 2, 3. And once the other guy pushes, it will be A, B, C 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, now other guy, if again the other guy pushes, A, B, C 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now again the same thing happens. A, B, C 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0 DE. Okay, like this it will maintain. So this have my commits alone, and my commits as a part of the 4, 5, 6, and my commits as a part of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. My commits as a part of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 DE, 0 DE. Like this it will maintain each and every versions. And what is the communication here? I'm bringing to my local, and I'm pushing directly. Okay, so now when we discuss on version control system tools, we will discuss few terminologies like pulling the code, downloading the code, pushing the code, and sometimes we call it as committing the code, adding the code, okay, and cloning the code. So like this we discuss few terminologies. So I will be using these terminologies across this session. Okay, now here if you see ABC, I'm adding the code, and everything is control as a version. Now this is the simple version control system. Now I have a remote server. This is a remote server. And these are local servers. Local servers in the sense my local missions. They are no servers, my missions. Now I have a remote server and I'm just first time I am cloning the code and I am pushing the code. Means what's happening here? I'm directly talking to the server every time, right? So version control system, I'm directly talking to the server every time. For example, if in some case I have cloned 456 and I thought, okay, 456 something is wrong in my mission, so I need to delete this one. I need to bring back the code again. In that case, again, I'm talking to this one. I'm talking to a remote server and I bring the code. Now here the communication is the code, only the source code. This will bring the code to the local and not the other intermediate files which are needed for the server. Okay, this is the version control system and SVN simply supports this one. Now there is a new one called distributed version control system. So distributed version control system is, the name itself says that the system is distributed. Means I can assume that the system, whole system itself is a distributed. Okay, now yes, that's the almost same scenario but not exactly the same. Okay, now in the same way, let us take, I'll have a remote server like this. Remote server, have a remote server like this. Now what I'm doing is, this is a distributed version control system, means I have a copy here ABC. Now same, I have 4 developers who are working on this code. Okay, now in this case what I will do is, I will bring the copy of the server here. Copy of the server in the sense it will come along with the code. I'm cloning the ABC only. I'm cloning the ABC only. I mean the same ABC. ABC, but along with ABC I will have the files which are, I mean the server reference files, means it will bring the exact replica of the server to my local. For example, here if you say I will have a clean ABC code, only I'll have a code which is useful for the developers, but here I will have a code which is useful for the servers, admins as well. Like along with the code it will give the server references. Okay, what is the benefit of bringing this one is, for example, here if in case my server goes down, I cannot talk to my previous version of code, like what are the changes I have done and what are the commits I have done, I mean what are the changes as compared to the older code. But here if I see, I'm bringing exact server replica here. Okay, means server means not only a code but also the code backend system files which are responsible for maintaining the versions. So those things also I'm bringing to my local and I'm referring them. So in some case, like if there is a maintenance activity here, or there is some network blockage, if there is some network blockage with the server, if there is some network blockage with the server like this, then also I can be able to check the status of my code and I can compare it to my remote code. What is actually in the remote code, I can compare it here, whereas in this case I cannot compare. Okay, these are the differences, main differences. If you see here on a diagrammatic way, this is the central version control system. I'll have a central version control system. I will pull the code, okay, and I have a local repository, that is local code, I will push the code. Okay, now it's a center. Now I have local and I will push it. Same thing. Now if you see the distributed version control system, I have a repository, right? The same repository I will bring entirely as a copy. So if you say here, client doesn't check out the latest snapshot of the files, rather they fully mirror the repository, including its full history. Means the direct repository will be coming on my local and along with the code which I need to develop. Okay, this main difference brings Git to a extreme level of usage, whereas SVN here we had little users, not very much users. Yes, earlier it was a great tool and everyone used the SVN tool, and nowadays everyone is migrating to Git tool because of the features it provides. Okay, now this brings us a capability of cloning the entire backup of the code. There is some code here and they are pulling to my local. Now if you see the backside dark the circles, the circle, if you see entire circle means my local machine will have the repository as well as the working copy. Working copy is what I work on, and repository is what the reference files, the including full history of the file. So like this, the distributed version control system is been designed. Am I clear? So is this clear? This is a little important topic for further discussions. That's the reason. So this is a version control system. This goes for our SVN. These all things we are not going to use SVN anyways. But here this is very important. Like whenever we work on a distributed version control system, this will bring the entire replica of the copy. Like system.
So I have a quick question.
Yeah, please.
When you say entire repository, is it specific to that particular code or is it like everything?
No. Yes, specific code. Like for example, here, let us take. I have a repository here. Okay, and my repository is having the set of codes, like projects or repositories like this. Now this is the ABC. This is the DEF, IJK, whatever. Okay, XYZ. Now what happens here? This is something called some team, like some ABC team is having the code here. This is one repository, there is another repository, there's repository. Now when I bring the code, this will bring entire repository here. Now this won't touch the other parts of the code. Okay, now on a more practical way, if I want to show you, I will do one thing. I will show you it on a example. If I bring this one, now if you see, there are multiple repositories. The Python guys will work on Python, the Java guys will work on Java, C++ will work on C++, JavaScript will work on JavaScript. Now if I clone this one, if I take this one, now this is the working copy. This will bring entirely the working copy. Okay, and there are few things like this one, like how many commits it has done, how many pull requests it has done, and what all the issues it had, and what all the issues been solved. So along with the entire history, like right from one commit to the 1049 commit, everything it will bring us to my local. Okay, for this particular repository alone, means this repository is something here, this one box. Okay, and here this Python is another box. and C++ is another box, and C is another box. Like this, it will bring us each and every repository with the entire history. Okay, now that is how it has been designed. Okay, not the other repository. It won't touch the other code, only the particular code, particular repository code. ABC is a part of the code. Like inside the Python, we have a multiple codes like these files. These are the part of the files. Okay, so it will bring us all the things, whatever needed. No, if you see, yeah, whatever needed. Now this repository have all my code. Like I have test, src, plugins, by environment, libexec, completions, bin. So this all code, it will bring it to my local. Along with that one, it will bring the references like this 2298 commit history, log history, and 9 branches. It won't bring the branches. Okay, it will bring only the commits history and who has committed. Like there are some 20 developers has committed 2300 times, so this will bring them, and this will bring when they have committed and how they have what are the changes they have done. Entire history it will bring, and in some point of time, if you want to retrieve the process, retrieve the code which you have changed unexpectedly, then also you can do it. So it provides a very easy way to retrieve the code. Okay, so this is how it brings code, not a single code. Okay, single file like this. It won't bring only a single file like this, or make file, or this test folder, or inside the test folder giving the exec path. No, it is not bringing that one. It will bring entire repository as a whole. Entire repository as a whole, it will bring it to a local. We don't bring a single file. Okay, we never deal with a single file when we are working on a version control systems. It will bring entire. That's the reason we will by using this version control system, we will be more sure that the same version of code will have on the will be there in entire developers machines. So that's a main motto. So everyone should work on the same piece of code parallelly, and they should contribute the new changes, so that everyone will be in sync and everyone will be in one track. So to maintain that, so we use same piece of code to be distributed to multiple developers, and multiple developers will work on the same piece of code, and they will contribute from their end, and they will do the push to the remote machine, and again it will bring us a new code. And new code means new version of code. So earlier, if you see, this guy added so and so file, added so and so this feature, fixed changelog typo, and this guy, someone is merge pull request for so and so patch 1, and this guy has merge pull request for so and so patch 1, like this. So now there are multiple guys working parallelly, and if you see, there will be a contributors as well for this code. We can see the contributors. If I am see here, these many guys have worked. 258 contributors are there for the only single this repository itself. Means 258 guys are working parallelly on the same piece of code, and they are pushing from their own end. Okay, like this, it creates, one is a parallelism, means anyone can work from anywhere and they can work parallelly. They don't need to depend on each other, and independently they can work on. Okay, so these things it provides. Got it? So this is the distributed version control system. Now there are, I say, yes, when I asked you guys, so which tool you guys work on, so few of them, if you said GitHub, GitLab. So I will tell you a main thing. Git is a client, and GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, and etc. like TFS. These are servers. Okay, Git is used as a client. Git is a exe application which we use as a client. That is not a server by inbuilt. We have to do few set of configuration things, configuration changes, which will transform the exe application, simple exe application, to the server. Now if you see here, this is a GitHub, this is a server. So what is a server generally is, which we can access from anywhere. If it is limited to that particular network, yes. The simple thing is which we can access from a remote machine is called a server. Okay, this is an application by nature which I can access from a remote server. This is an application by nature which we can access from a remote machine is called a server. Okay, this is what we call as a Git. Okay, you got it. Sorry, server. Now Git is a client. If I install Git on my local machine, I cannot access that application from my remote machine. But whereas if I set up GitHub or GitLab or Bitbucket on my local machine, I can use it from anywhere, because those are the servers. Okay, and the interesting part is they also use Git in the backend. Now GitHub, Bitbucket, GitLab are the UI. On top of Git, they are developing some sort of logics and some automated tasks which brings as a server. Okay, this is the main difference we need to know. Okay, now Git, wherever it is, a client. Okay, simple client. GitHub and GitLab and Bitbucket are the servers which we generally use for our remote as a remote reference. If I have a Bitbucket, see, this is a Bitbucket, this is a server again, because I can access it from remotely. This is installed somewhere, hosted somewhere, and now I am able to access from here. So this is a server, and this will use Git in the backend for the versioning, the control versioning, everything is taken care by Git. But whereas authentications, authorizations, UI part, and easy to access, a lot of other customization is taken from by the servers. Okay, now how can we get the account? So just simply by signing up the account. Okay, just do a signing up account. I think if your teams already have a Git, Bitbucket on your environment, so you can get them, and we can sign up on the public domain Git servers, or we can use our company's one. So company's one, they are generally configured to the Active Directory, like your local ADs, right? So that you can easily access with your username and password. One time when you join the organization, you will create username and password, and the company will create for you, and the credentials you will use across your tools. The similar way, this will be accessible for all the organizations. So they will set up the Bitbucket or GitHub or GitLab server on their environment. They will integrate with the Active Directory so that other guys can able to access. And in the public domain, this is not having any AD which is maintained by us. So that's the reason what we do is we generally create an account, like how we create an account for Facebook. Now we create an account for our other tools, other servers. So similar way, we'll create an account for here, and we will start using. So account sign up is very simple. Just go here, username, email and password, give it for first time and access it, and it will send you an email. From the email, just verify it, and then you will be able to log into the GitHub account. And from there, you can able to start creating your GitHub repositories and you start working on them. Okay, so like this. So in the GitHub, just create an account. And why we use GitHub mainly is because these are open source, and this is one of the oldest GitHub server, I mean Git servers been used in the market, and these have some millions of codes, open source code. So any code comes to this one is almost a open source code, and you can use it for your own purpose. Okay, means you can modify them, but you should not violate the licenses which the developer gives. But apart of that one, yeah, you can use it for your own experimenting purpose. Okay, so like this you use a Git account configuration for remote and public, whereas in your local you don't need to set up any account, sign up or account. Okay, they don't give you sign up access, so you need to raise an access for with your local technical guys, technical support guys, and they will provide you the access. Okay, now access setup. Now once you log in, maybe let me log in with my account. So like this, it will send an email for my verification mail ID. Okay, so now if I log in here, so this is the GitHub. Once you log in, this will be your actual screen where you can manage your code and you can distribute your code. Okay, now here if you see there will be a create new repository or import an existing repository, new organization project. Okay, now let me see list of repositories what I have. So these all repositories I have created. Okay, few of them are actually working code, and few of them are for demo purpose, and a few of them are a CI/CD tool, a CI/CD code as well. Okay, once you create, and the easy part is again, so Git, if you take some code, this one. Okay, now I can click on here and there will be a HTTPS URL it provides. Can simply copy and clone it anywhere if it is a public repository. If it is a private repository, I cannot clone it anywhere. For example, let me show you an example here. Okay, I have accessed the account, same Linux account. I'm going to root user. I'll put a today's date. I will create today's date 4. Okay, now if I want to clone this code, if I want to bring this code locally, then what I will do is I will click on here. I will click on the copy this URL. I will copy here. I will simply put git clone. Then cloning. What is cloning means? It will bring the exact copy of the code which is further used to communicate with the Git. Now if I see, I got a copy here. If I go once inside, now I will get exact replica, like whatever the code I have. So if you see here, and if you see here entire code, I can be able to see it here. Okay, so like this I can clone the code simply using HTTPS URL. or if you want to use SSH, you can use it SSH as well. But for SSH, you need to add a key. Then only you will be able to access SSH key. If not, HTTPS good enough. You can directly access from HTTPS. And if you want to download a zip file, you can download zip file also. And if you once download a zip file, then you won't be able to access the Git like this communication. You will be completely lost with the Git communication. So those things we can do it here. SSH access these all things. Now creating a repository is very simple here. It is free of cost and you can directly go ahead. Now they are showing a Bitbucket screen here, and here it's a GitHub screen. Everything is same, the servers. The only thing is the UI changes and the functionality changes, not the entire functionality, like how we handle the tool, that changes. Okay, now here if you see new repository, and I will give the repository name, small description, and if I want to make it as a private or public, so what's the difference of private or public, I will show you now. And if I want a readme file, I can do it, or if I want to add some license also, I can do that one. Right now I don't license, though I don't create. Now if I click on here, so what is the difference between public and private here? Now this is a private repository, my private repository. Okay, now this won't be seen to anyone. And if I clone here, if I try to clone it here, it will ask for username and password authentication. Whereas here
and
it
also,
yes.
yeah, when you do git clone, does it also pull all branches, or is it only specific branch?
No. Yes, that's a good question actually. Yes. So what Git is programmed from inside, GitHub, Git is programmed from inside is, it will clone master as a default. Okay, so if you give a command git clone, so it means that it is referring to the master branch. Okay, in Git we have branchings, like it will have a master and the other branches which we create. This is the main branch as a default branch. Whenever you create a repository, it will create a master as a default, and the other branches, like if I create 1, 2, 3 branch, 4, 5, 6 branch. Okay, now these are manually made branches, and this is the automated branch. Now when I clone a Git repository with a simple URL, it will always point out to master as a default branch. And if I want to clone a particular repository, then what I will do is I will define that particular repository branch. Sorry, particular branch, I will define the branch name. I don't have branch here. Let me show you that example as well. If I see here, I have a branch here, right? Now if I want to clone this branch, if I go to branch here and select, and if I go to URL, okay, select, okay, now I have a branch, now I have URL, now it is enough. Now I can simply clone this one. No, that is never a right solution actually. If you see here, you're able to see me, right? See the screen, right? Now git clone. If I clone like this, again it will clone the master only, it won't clone the branch. Okay, for example, if you see here, what are the changes in between master and branch? There's a minor differences I cannot see, but yes, okay, I will show it here. Git branch. If I put a git branch command, sorry, I had to go inside this one, git branch. Now what is showing? It is showing clone. It is cloning the master. But now you'll get it out. No, I have selected a branch and I have cloned. Why it is not cloning branch? No, it is not cloning because this is the default URL for all the branches. Now it's our duty to define the branch name, like one branch name, the other branch name. For example, if I want to clone a particular branch, let me remove this one first and then I will clone. Git clone, the same the same URL we will paste it. This is the URL. We'll paste it. But before that, what we'll do is we'll define branch name -b equal to branch, or -b or hyphen branch. Branch. Now, what is the branch name? Feature slash so and so, entire branch name we should give like this. If I want to clone a branch, if you see here, git clone -b feature slash so and so. Now, if I get into enter, now it will clone a branch named feature slash 16 April 2020. Okay, so like this we should clone a branch, individual branches. If you don't define any branch name, then it will directly go to master. And if you want to clone the master, you don't need to define the branch name. Okay, so it will directly take a master itself. Okay, like this we will change between branches. Now, before doing these all actions, I should have a git installed on my local machine. Okay, so please install git on your local machines. So this need not to be a local machine. If you are using some remote machine also, you can generally the machine where you want to use the git. So where you want to use the git, just install it there and start using git. Without installation you don't get. Okay, so to do that, for example, git, if you install git on your local machine, you can access GitHub, you can access GitLab, you can access Bitbucket, you can access TFS as well. So servers are different, but the client is same, git client. Okay, like this we will define the git servers, git client, and
I
git
also
compose.
see
Yes.
tags, right? What is that?
So I think for the next session we have that one. I think we need to check. Okay, here we have, I guess, yes. Okay, tagging is nothing. Now here you are creating up branches, right? Now I'm creating a branches here. I'm accessing the branches. I'm developing on the branches. I'm pushing into the master. Now what is tagging is, for example, let me close this one as well. I'm having a version of code. Now I have added a small piece of code as a commit or a pull request. Another piece of code again I have added. Another piece of code I have added. Again I have another piece of code. So I keep on adding the code, right? Because it's development. For example, if you see WhatsApp application, they will keep on releasing the updates. And if you say any mobile application, they will keep on adding the updates. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. Some keep on adding particular versions. Means, for example, it is 0. From 0, I'm adding A, B, C, D, E, F. Now, what I will do is, I already said you. So, when we add the versions of the code like this, we can pick up the code from any point or any version. For example, if I need a version from D, I'll pick up by using a commit. But for that I should know a commit ID and I should know a filtering there, everything. Now what I will do is simply I will create a number here, like one tag, 1.0 version of tag, and I will create another tag here, maybe 2.0. then what happens is it will be easy for me to recognize that okay 1.0 version, because if you design a release notes for your application, you will see that release note 1.0, release note 2.0, then it will be easy for you to understand that okay 2.0 release note is having so and so features, means up to here I have a so and so features, so I'm putting a checkpoint there like okay this is the tag where I have a so and so release version of 2.0. Whereas if you maintain a branches are short-lived, like you are creating a branch and once after development you are deleting this one, everything goes under master. Okay, from the master if you see I have commits. Now I need to search for which commit earlier it was. I mean for example I want to revert to some commit, then I need to search for which commit ID like this from here. Okay, I need to go for here. Okay, this is the commit ID. And now okay, what is the commit ID? Okay, this is the commit ID test. Okay, this is I want. Now what I will do, I will go to GitHub, I mean in this project, I will clone this code with the particular commit ID, and then I will start creating a branch from there. Whereas in tag, if I have some particular tag, from that tag I can start a new set of development. So that's the reason we use a tag, branches, and pull request, peer reviews. These are all the extra features where the tools provides, the servers provides, GitHub or GitLab or Bitbucket, they will provide. So that's the reason they provide these all servers. If there are no extra features, then no one will prefer the servers. That's the reason. Now whatever they provide are the inbuilt features of Git. Okay, inbuilt features of Git, and they are providing in this way UI like this. They are providing a UI and you can create a tag there. Okay, so that is the reason we use tags. Okay, now creating a repository is very simple. Like we will go here, create a repository in Bitbucket, you just put a plus and it will create a repository. Now it will show like this: private repositories, public repositories, like this. Once you create a repository, inside the repository you can put any version of files, any format of files, and we generally don't encourage to put the built applications. Applications like exe files, DLLs, MSF files, APK files. These all things we don't encourage generally because these are the build applications. We can't see them, right? These should need a package version, not the code version. So we generally put the codes. These are not recommended. And recommended are what are the recommended code? Like source codes, like Java codes, lot of things, Python code, .NET code, like C#, shells, like another Swiss files, CS files, like this. Any files which we can edit them, which we can read them, which we can view them. So those part of code we will put in a source code manager. Okay, now these codes we will place it here and we'll start creating a version. For example, if you see here, I will show you a simple example here. If you see, update Jenkins file, I am updating. So I created test file. Means now this is a Jenkins file here. Now if I click on here Jenkins file, okay, now if I see the history, there are a lot of histories. A lot of times I have changed the Jenkins file here. Means this file is editable file. So that's the reason I can able to see this, and I'm maintaining on a version control system. Whereas if it is not editable file, I cannot see. One thing is I cannot see. The other thing is, again, it is difficult for the version control system to maintain the version of the compiled code because there's an application. Something is changed inside the application, we cannot maintain that version. But for that we can put the releases. Release means a package. Like I will show you that one. No, not this one. Okay. If you see this one, now here, if you see, there are releases. So under the releases, they are putting the jar files, code zips, jar files. This is coming under release, whereas in the source code, they are putting the actual source code which can be editable, which can be viewed, and they are creating some branches. Yeah, they are creating some tags. If I go to particular 1.03 tags is mainly, we will never prefer tags for general purpose. Okay, we will mainly prefer tags as a major release. If it is going to major release, then we'll create a tag. If you see here in the tags, 1.05, 1.105, 103, 102, 101, 101, 100. And if you see the releases tags here, 105, 103, 102, 101, 100 initial release. So like this, we will maintain the tags for the major releases, and shorter releases, we will create a shorter development, we'll create a branches and we'll push them. Okay, this is how it has been designed. Any doubts on this one so far? If you have any doubts, please write it, or maybe you can practice it, and if you have any doubts, then you can raise it in the next session as well. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Great. Now, here if you see, setting up the server, I want you guys to do a practice on this one and come up with the doubts. Okay. Now slide 12 and 13 from here. Setting up a server, just follow the simple steps and it will give you a server which can be accessible. Okay, these things are set up, a simple setup, step by step, everything is given, and we need to do this one. Oh, setting up the server is very simple here. Once you install Git, then the thing is again, how can we set up the server? Server means exposing to a remote access. Application is a standalone application, standalone software, whereas server is a remote, I mean it can be accessed from remote, the software. Okay, the same thing. Setting up a server is very simple here. Once you install Git, then you will follow this process, and then you will do a simple commit, and remote origin is git server dot, I mean the git server is the name of the host name, and then you will give this all, I mean generally it will use a 9418 for the git server. Okay, now we need to allow this as a under the firewall. If you have some personal machine or general machine, you can use them. And what is a daemon? Daemon is a backend or background process for any application. Okay, daemon is a background process, because once you run the server, you want the server to be running in the background, right? So for that we will set up a daemon file as well. So this daemon file is a command, like this will explain that what it should run and how long it should run on restart, or which user it should run, or who can install it, like this. Okay, now simply that, see, whatever GitHub or GitLab I'm accessing, on a simple note, if I want to say if I take a GitHub server here, what they do is they will install Git and they will install a GitHub server. I mean server in the sense the UI. Maybe they are hosting on a Nginx server or Apache server, whatever. They will install the server and they will project the server to this machine. Now when you log in, or sorry, when you sign up, when I sign up to GitHub server, when I sign up a GitHub server, now it will go here onto the GitHub and it will create a folder in my name, with my name, like my name, like this. Now whenever I create one repository, it will create a repository under this name, like repo1, okay, under this directory. Now if I create another repository, then again same, under my name it will create a repo2. So like this will keep on creating. So it will point out to one name and it will keep on creating repo3, repo4, like this. And if I delete the account, then it will completely delete my name. Okay, the same Git background what Git client is doing. If you create one application, if it clone one application, it will be created under one location. I go some under location and I will clone the code. The similar way, this location is called as a account name on the remote server. The remote server BSK1070 is the account name. Okay, account name is BSK1072 and CI/CD demo is the name of repository which I created. Now my name is called as the BSK1072 and CI/CD demo is the repository name. The similar way it will create all the things, and when you access the GUI from the browser, it will show us the list of all the repositories. So whatever we can maintain in our local also, the same Git. But the thing is, again, if you maintain everything on a local, if something happens on my local machine or my machine crashes, then what happens is I don't have any backup copy anywhere. So if I maintain some remote like this, then if something goes wrong in my local, for example it gets deleted, then I can again simply go here and access. That is the main purpose of servers, Git servers, like GitHub, Bitbucket or any other. Apart of that one, they are providing lot of other service, other features like authentications, authorizations, like who can access, what I can access. And of course, if you come to GitHub here, I can create an organization. Where it is? Yes, here if you go to repositories. Oh, not here, sorry. If I go to organization, you can create an organization like this. And the multiple people can work together. So like this, it is providing some feature. The same thing, like for example, if we take a very basic example, like for example, earlier we had mobile messages, now we have WhatsApp. So what is the difference there? In mobile messages, I used to send only messages and smileys, but in WhatsApp we have see, WhatsApp is the same thing, it's also messenger only, but the extra features are we can send photos, we can do a video call, we can send a video, we can send stickers, these all things. So these are the extra features like this. If I use a Git client on my environment as a local server, it is good enough. But the thing is, if something goes wrong in my local machine, then what happens? That's the reason they have come with a GitHub server, so that everything will be captured here, and at any point of time if you need, you can directly bring them locally. Okay, thanks guys. Please to practice, and if you get any doubts, we can discuss on next session. That's on Monday, right? Yeah.
JanBass Training. Learn and grow.